Exercise 42. Write a program that asks the user to type in words one at a time, puts these words in a list, stops asking if the user types Q, make this work whether the user types in uppercase or lowercase, counts how many times the letter E appears in the words the user typed, and then prints the result. The letter E appears dash times. Okay, so let's copy these instructions and put them here as a comment. So first we want to ask the user to type in words one at a time and put these words in a list. So let's create the list. Then we can use a loop to ask the user for the words. Again, some people discourage the use of while true, but in this case it's fine. So user input equals input okay. Then if the user types Q, if user input dot lower, so this should work whether it's capital letter or small. So if user input equals Q, then we break out of the loop. Alright? Otherwise, we want to append the user's input to our word list. Okay, so that should take care of asking for the input. Now, want to check how many times the letter E appears in those words which were entered. So we want to loop through the word list. Now this exercise comes after the user has learned in our lessons offered at ondevs.com. This exercise comes after learning about nested loops. If we are not using nested loops, then here is one way we could have done this. We have a variable to store the number of letters. Well, first let's create it up here before our loop. Letter count equals 0. So we increment this letter count by the number of times the letter E appears in the current word. So word dot count, and we're counting here the letter E. Okay, then the last instruction here is to print this statement. So we can copy that. This comes now after the loop has run, after we have looped through the list. So we can put this here. Oh, and there's a spelling mistake here. Well, a typo. So this is one way of doing it without using a nested loop. Let's test it. Please type in a word. Example. Type in another word. Test. Type in try. Then enter Q to quit. So it tells us that the letter E appears 2 times, meaning it's not counting this capital letter E, it's counting this small one here and this one. Okay, because here on line 10 we only specified the lowercase e. We could modify this line to include also capital letters, but we don't need to do that in this case, because what we want to do here is learn about nested loops. So this is one way of counting without using nested loops. But if we were to use a nested loop, we can disable this line, and line 9 here loops through each word in word list. Then now we can have a nested loop to loop through each letter within each word. So for letter in word, then we check, is the letter dot lower equals to E? If it is, then we add 1 to the letter count. Okay, so this is the same thing using a nested loop. So again, we can test it. Please enter a word. Example, again with a capital E. Another word, egg. Another one, owendevs.com, where you can have one-on-one Python lessons. Then Q to quit, and it tells us letter E appears 5 times. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this is one example of using nested loops. Thank you for watching. Please sign up for Python lessons at owendevs.com. Please like, please share, please subscribe to the channel.